You've seen this happen before, right? A company sinks a ton of money into some shiny new software system. Launch day comes, everyone's excited, but then, weeks later, it's a total mess. Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. Why these big, expensive systems so often crash and burn, and more importantly, how to make sure yours doesn't. You know, the story is almost always the same. The users are confused, they're making all these costly mistakes. Pretty soon they're saying, hey, the old way was better. And just like that, that amazing new system is basically collecting digital dust. It is an absolute nightmare for everyone involved. So what is the missing piece here? Well, the answer isn't more code or a bunch of new features. Nope. It's something much more human. It's all about system training and development. And look, this isn't just some one-off webinar. It's a whole strategy designed to empower the actual people using the system. It's about turning that confusion into real confidence. Let's break down the three big pillars of how this works. Okay, first up, the training itself. I want you to think about it like this. You would never, ever hand someone the keys to a brand new, super fast sports car without giving them any driving lessons, right? Of course not. A powerful news system is exactly the same. You have to teach people how to drive it. And here's the thing you've got to remember. Good training isn't just a single meeting. It's a journey. You start with the basics for everyone, you know, the foundational stuff. Then you get into hands-on practice, which is where it really starts to stick. After that, you can do deep dive workshops for the more specialized tasks. And this is so important. You need feedback and assessments to make sure people are actually getting it, not just zoning out. And look, there's a very clear point to all these steps. This isn't just about checking a box that says training complete. It's about getting real results. We're talking about fewer user errors that could cost a fortune. We're talking about building a team that feels confident and capable instead of one that's frustrated and pushing back. This is how you turn those skeptics into your biggest fans. All right, let's move on to pillar number 2. So even the best driver in the world sometimes needs to check the owner's manual, right? You know, figure out what that weird blinking light on the dash means. Well, your system needs its own rulebook too, and we call that the user manual. But let's be real for a second. Most user manuals are totally boring, super dense, and they just end up being a paperweight on someone's desk. So the real question is, how do you make one that people will actually use? One that becomes their go-to guide? The secret sauce is all about what you put inside. A great manual doesn't just describe stuff. It walks the user through it step by step. It's got screenshots so people can see exactly what they're supposed to be clicking on. It even thinks ahead, with a troubleshooting guide for common problems and an FAQ section. It just makes finding an answer quick and painless. And the payoff here is huge. Instead of your IT team getting hammered with the same simple questions over and over, you get users who can solve their own problems. It frees up your tech experts for the big stuff and creates one single source of truth for how everything is supposed to work. No more guessing. Okay, so your team knows how to drive the system, and they've got the owner's manual in the glove box. But what about actually understanding what this system is trying to tell them? This brings us to our third and final pillar. Reading the results. This is just like learning to read the dashboard of the car, the speedometer, the fuel gauge, all those warning lights. And honestly, I cannot stress this enough. You could have the most powerful, most sophisticated system in the entire world. But if the reports it spits out are confusing or just plain ugly, then all that power is completely and totally wasted. What comes out of the system is just as important as what goes in. So what does a good dashboard actually look like? Well, it really comes down to 5 key things. The data has to be accurate, obviously, but it also has to be clear and relevant. Is it actually helping you make a decision? It has to be timely, because yesterday's data doesn't solve today's problems. And finally, it has to be consistent, so you're not trying to relearn a new report format every single week. If you miss even one of these, you're basically flying blind. I mean, the difference here is like night and day. On one side, you've got total chaos. Data that's late makes no sense and leads to really bad decisions. It just destroys any trust in the system. But on the other side, you have clarity. You've got reliable info that helps your team make smart, fast choices. It builds massive confidence in the technology you invested in. So we've covered the 3 pillars: the driving lessons, the owner's manual, and reading the dashboard. Now, let's bring it all home and see how these pieces click together to create a winning formula for pretty much any system launch. So here it is, the big picture. You have the training, which gives your users the skills they need. You have the user manual to guide them whenever they get stuck. And you have clear system results, so they can make smart decisions based on what's happening. See? They're not just three separate items on a checklist, they are deeply connected parts of one single successful strategy.
And in the end, it really all boils down to this. This is the why behind everything we've talked about. The entire point is to make sure people can use the new tool correctly and efficiently. Because when you do that, you boost their confidence, you supercharge their productivity, and you finally get that return on investment you were promised from the start.
So I'll leave you with this last thing to think about. We always talk about the cost of building the system or the cost of the training program. But maybe the more important question we should be asking is this: what is the real price of an untrained user? Think about all the mistakes, the lost productivity, the constant resistance. That is the real price of failure, and it's a price you absolutely do not have to pay.